Halftime in the desert. How Ole Miss reached the Fiesta Bowl and stayed within striking distance. Glendale, Arizona. Under the bright lights of State Farm Stadium, the Ole Miss Rebels found themselves 30 minutes away from either history or heartbreak. At halftime of the Fiesta Bowl, Ole Miss trailed the Miami Hurricanes 17-13, but the scoreline reflected something more important than numbers. The Rebels were still very much alive. For a program that spent decades knocking on the door of national relevance, this moment was a culmination of a season defined by resilience, explosive talent, and belief. A season that changed the narrative. Ole Miss entered the 2025 season with expectations, but not necessarily playoff pressure. Yet week after week, the Rebels dismantled doubts. Behind a balanced offense, opportunistic defense, and disciplined game management, Ole Miss climbed the rankings and emerged as one of college football's most consistent teams. Key wins against ranked opponents solidified their college football playoff resume, while their ability to win both shootouts and defensive slugfests showed maturity uncommon for a program still carving its place among the sport's elite. By December, Ole Miss wasn't just a feel-good story. They were a legitimate title contender. That journey earned them a ticket to the Fiesta Bowl with a national championship appearance on the line. A cautious start under championship pressure. The magnitude of the moment was evident early. The opening quarter saw both teams trading punts, feeling each other out in a chess match rather than a track meet. Miami struck first with a 38-yard field goal, taking a modest 3-0 lead by the end of the first quarter. Ole Miss offense struggled to find rhythm early, but their defense held firm, a recurring theme throughout the season. It was the kind of disciplined patience that had carried them this far. Momentum swings and a game-changing run. The game's tone shifted instantly at the start of the second quarter. On the very first snap, running back Kewan Lacy exploded to the line and raced 73 yards to the end zone, his 24th touchdown of the season and one of the most electrifying plays of Ole Miss year. The run showcased exactly how the Rebels arrived in Arizona. Speed, aggression, and the ability to strike without warning. Miami answered quickly with a touchdown of their own, reclaiming the lead at 10-7. The Hurricanes later extended it to 17-10, capitalizing on a brief Ole Miss offensive stall. Still, the Rebels refused to let the moment spiral. Another hallmark of their season. Late half poise keeps Ole Mississippi close. With under a minute left before halftime, Ole Miss defense delivered when it mattered most, forcing a punt and giving the offense one last chance. Quarterback Trinidad Chambliss, who had been steady but limited in yardage, guided the Rebels into scoring range. Kicker Lucas Carnero drilled a 58-yard field goal, a pressure-packed moment that cut the deficit to 4 points and sent Ole Miss into the locker room trailing just 17-13. The score mattered, but so did the message. Ole Miss could weather Miami's surges and respond under pressure. Adversity strikes again. Not everything went according to plan. Lacy exited the game after his long touchdown run with an injury, casting uncertainty over Ole Miss' second-half offensive approach. Chambliss had thrown for just 71 yards in the first half, meaning adjustments would be necessary. But adversity was nothing new. All season long, Ole Miss had responded to injuries, hostile road environments, and high-stakes moments with composure. That mindset carried them to the Fiesta Bowl, and it was exactly what they needed again. 30 minutes from history. At halftime in the Arizona desert, Ole Miss stood at a crossroads. 30 minutes separated the Rebels from either the greatest win in program history or a valiant near miss. Regardless of the final outcome, one truth was already clear. Ole Miss had arrived on college football's biggest stage not by accident, but by earning every step of the journey. And as they returned to the field for the second half, the Rebels carried with them a season's worth of confidence, belief, and unfinished business.